Hi everyone, I'm Rick Benson. Today is Wednesday, January 4th, and welcome to this week's In the Know Trader Show. We're going to do things a little differently this week than we do typically, in the sense that the agenda is going to be made up completely of an educational session and one that we're not going to go through charts. So what I want to talk about this week is that you can easily outpace the S&P's return on a fairly consistent basis. So we will talk about that, and then we'll also talk about alternative ways to use the 7-Eleven report, which I reference back to bullet point number 1 about outpacing the S&P's return. So let's get into this. My 7-Eleven report is a report that I started in August of 2020. And if you're not familiar with what it is, I designed this report to beat the S&P on a month-by-month basis, where I reallocate up to 7 of the 11 SPDR macro sector ETFs, like XLK for technology, XLE for energy, XLP consumer staples, and so on. There are 11 different macro sectors to the S&P, and combined in their proper benchmark weightings is what you combined equal the return of the S&P. What I aim to do is be in no more than 7 of the 11 sectors at any given time, with the goal of outperforming the S&P by staying away from what I project to be underperforming sectors. And if you think about it, if you can avoid the underperforming sectors, you will outperform. Now, this is what every portfolio manager, every mutual fund manager tries to do who is benchmarked to the S&P. But very few actually do it successfully. Part of it is they generally pick individual stocks within the sectors that they favor and they disfavor. But historically, we know that approximately 6 out of every 7 portfolio managers cannot beat the S&P or benchmark to the S&P. I can. I set out to create this report to essentially prove to myself that I did have methodology that could do what very few people can do. And let's start off with looking at how this did in 2022, so last year. In the far left column here, we have my month-by-month return of the 7-Eleven report. Next to it is the SPDR's return. So for instance, in January, the SPDR's lost 5.27%. I lost 4.58%. So we outperformed. And you can see month by month, there is only 1 month out of the 12 last year that I underperformed, and that was July. I only was up 8.26% when the S&P was up 9.21%. Otherwise, all other 11 months, I outperformed. In the second column, we take a theoretical $100,000 starting portfolio on December 31st of 2021 and show you month by month how your portfolio progresses. And the excess is how much the 7-Eleven is outperforming. We show this in percentage basis. And what we come up with is that by year's end, the 7-Eleven report outpaced the S&P by just over 6%. So on the bottom left-hand chart, I should have delineated this. In blue is the 7-Eleven report's performance, and in orange is the SPDR's performance. So we start out with the same $100,000 account. Of course, last year was a down year, but you can see that we always outpaced. And from the start of the year to the end of the year, we have a much better performance, the difference being just over $6,000. So on the bottom right-hand chart is the progression of how you did over time last year. So if you have passive index investing, which most people do, most people own spiders in their portfolio, I will say to you, why? Why would you continue to put money into a passive S&P index fund when we prove to you that we can better that strategy? But it's not just in 2022 that I've done this. Let's take a look at the all-time results for 7-Eleven versus the S&P. So this is the entire spreadsheet from the start of August 2020 when we had $100,000. At the end of December 22, which is 29 months later, you'd have $126,808. If you were in the spiders during that time, you'd only have $115,000. The excess is just about $11,800 in 29 months. That is a superior return relative to what the spiders gave you. The difference in the cumulative percentage here is that you'd be up 26.81% in the 7-Eleven report versus only up 15% in the spiders. So this is now over the 29-month period. Let me give you a few more statistics that show you the benefit of the 7-Eleven report. Here is the graph, again, of the differential of the 7-Eleven versus the spiders. Here is the cumulative outperformance starting with a $100,000 account and where you'd be now, which again is just about $11,800 ahead by subscribing and following what I suggest to do each month. The risk of the 7-Eleven portfolio as measured in standard deviation, the typical way a Wall Street firm would measure the risk of a portfolio, was 5.39% versus the S&Ps had 5.54% during the same 29 months, which means that we had lower risk relative to the S&P. So we admirably outperformed while taking less risk than if you were in the S&P during the same time. That is exactly what Wall Street's dream results are for any portfolio manager. Outperform your benchmark while taking less risk than being in the benchmark. Plenty of people outperform because they take substantially higher risk, concentrating their bets in just a couple of sectors or in just a couple of names. And for instance, if over the years you were long Amazon and Apple and FANG type names, you did way better than the benchmark until a couple of years ago, in which case you've now significantly underperformed the benchmark. The difference is that I am taking less risk than the S&P 500 ETF, the spiders, yet getting significantly better results, which means that the process that I use of combining fundamentals, quantitative, technical, market timing, and behavioral analysis of the market through investing in these select 7 spider ETFs each month well outperforms the game that everyone else is trying to play. So this is not going to be a lengthy webinar this week. It is a simple question that you should ask yourself is, why would you still put money in the spiders when you can, based on history, admirably outperform putting your money into the spiders? So that's my question for you and something to ponder about. So if you like what the 7-Eleven report does, sign up for a free trial. You get a 7-day free trial of any of the reports I write, whether it's the Tactical Trader report or the 7-Eleven report. You get a 7-day free trial. We do not charge your credit card until the 7 days are up. So you have any time in the first 7 days. If you don't like what you see, you have the right to cancel and you will not be billed. So if you're not in the 7-Eleven report and you are a long-term investor in the market, whether it's in a 401k account, an IRA, not a 401k, I take that back, an IRA account or a taxable account, you will do far better based on what we've done now consistently over the 29-month period. And if you talk about consistency, you look at this chart that starts on the lower left and ends on the upper right without massive swings in between. This is just a good, steady, continual uptrend of outperformance over time. So this is something that I really think, and you know me, if you've been following my videos, webinars, the work I do, you know that I am completely on your side. I do everything I can to help better educate you and to help you make more money than if you were not listening to me. And I can't say that is true about the bulk of people in the newsletter writing industry. They are completely in it for themselves. They lie. They are not transparent. They make up results. They forget about trades that they tell you that they got you into and only remember the good ones. That is not the person I am. That is not why I do this. And ask yourself if you are maximizing the returns that you can get in your portfolio when you go into passive index investing. And I'm not opposed to it as a general way of thinking about putting a substantial part of your money into the market versus buying individual stocks and trying to outperform that way. But I'm not sure I could prove to you much more easily than I have that it is possible to beat the market, though academicians will tell you you can't beat the market over time. My process in picking the sectors that I do and the results that we have that just keep going up, up, up gives you, or should give you, a very good sense that this is a process that works. And obviously, I can't guarantee it will work in the same degree going forward. Anybody who would guarantee that is a complete huckster. But what I can tell you, and what you can see here, is that we consistently chip away at the results of simply passively investing to a significant amount. Being up 11.8% on $100,000 in 29 months relative to if you were in the S&Ps, the spider itself, is a significant differential. So the minor cost of the 7-Eleven report, which is at maximum $87 a month, and it can be less depending upon how, if you go month to month, or if you sign up for a whole year, or if you also, the cheapest subscription is when you combine both 7-Eleven and the weekly Tactical Trader report. So then it comes down to, I think, less than $70 a month for the 7-Eleven report. So even though I'm the author of this report, I'm telling you, as somebody who has always had your back and tries to do the best by you, unlike most people in this industry, you'd be serving yourself very well to at least minimally sign up for a trial and to spend several months subscribing to this and seeing the results you get relative to keeping money in the spiders. So that's what I want to tell you about this. The other thing I want to talk about is just the way in which different type of customers that I have who subscribe to 7-Eleven use the report. Many people who are individual investors will exactly mimic as instructed in the report each month. So I give you what sectors or which sectors I want you to be in. I give you a specific allocation based upon 100% of the portfolio, the 7-Eleven portfolio, that X% is in, let's just say, technology, X% is in staples, X% is in energy, etc. And you just take your portfolio total and put X% and change your allocation in order to match. And if you do, you will essentially get the exact same results we have. Some people will not do that as precisely as I instruct, but they'll look at the different sectors and they'll play names within the sectors I like, and they won't be buying names in the sectors I don't like. And that's another way that you can use it. You will not exactly replicate these results, but you have a very good sense of where you should be putting money into and what sectors of the market you should not be putting money into. And then you also have those who, for instance, financial advisors will use this as their guideline to help individual client portfolios of theirs to be in the sectors that match up with their risk tolerance and what they've already had discussions with their clients to do, such that if, let's say, one of the sectors is one of the 11 that I don't like, and of course each month there are going to be 4 that I don't have you invested in. Some of those financial advisors have clients who have positions in those sectors. And perhaps they've seen them starting to roll over, and I've decided, that sector should not be included as one of the 7 that we're invested in. This gives the financial advisor the opportunity to do something defensive in that sector. They may not want to sell the name out. The client may not want to sell the name out. And that could be for a variety of reasons. But if we can anticipate that a sector is going to come off decently where we don't want it in the portfolio, this is an opportunity for the advisor to have a conversation with their client about the sector, about their exposure in the sector, and it gives them the chance to talk about either reducing position size, perhaps selling covered calls against what they have, perhaps buying a downside put to hedge some of the exposure they have in that sector. There are multiple ways you can use the 7-Eleven report besides exactly mimicking as I instruct. Now, you will get the most benefit based on historical results by specifically mimicking as instructed. But as I say, there's lots of ways financial advisors can use this to help reduce exposure in sectors where they have clients invested in. But I'm saying this is going to be an underperformer. And generally, when I put something in or out, when I each month I may tweak how much exposure we have, let's say in energy or staples or whatever sector. So it might move from 9% to 10%. But if I'm taking a sector out, then I'm generally thinking that that's probably in the neighborhood of a 6-month or more call, where it's a sector I don't want to be involved in. And when I put something in, it's usually I'm not in it quickly and out the next month. It's because I think it's a sector that's getting a turn and moving higher or will continue moving higher. So just to give you an example, in August of 2021, I moved into energy. That was 1 year after we started this newsletter. So for the entire first year, we were not in energy. In December of 2021, we went into healthcare, and both energy and healthcare we've had since. And one of the most recent changes I made on December 1st, I went into XLC, communication services, which was just getting trashed. And of course, the big names there are Meta and Google and Disney. And I think that on December 1st, I put them back in. And take a look, for instance, at something like Meta, which has moved up from about $90 to about $125 in the last 2 months. So I'm also anticipating the changes that we see before it's obvious to most people, which is how we got into energy in August of 2021, because it was downtrending and had been the worst performing sector for 20 years cumulatively in the S&P. And we got in essentially at the low of the move, and it's been almost straight up since. Healthcare has been wildly outperforming since December 1st of 2021 when we put it in, and it had been underperforming up until that point. So this is also using the models and having the experience that I do of over a 40-year career on Wall Street gives me a significant advantage over most people who play this game, because I have a very well-known background in behavioral finance theory and was the first to teach it at NYU in Manhattan and incorporate the gamesmanship of what goes on Wall Street in order to properly anticipate sector movement and when these things are going to turn direction. So the 7-Eleven report can be used in multiple ways by any of you who are listening, from again, doing as instructed to get as close to the results that we have, which is based upon making the switches when instructed to at the beginning of each month. And this, by the way, this report comes out on the last day of the prior month so that you have the new allocations to start that you do on the open of the next month. And it's clearly been the right way to play, and it gives people lots of different ways to use this type of information, either in conjunction with the Tactical Trader report or separately as just a standalone report. And the feedback that I've been getting and the emails, especially after we just had such a bang-up year, outperforming the S&P by 6%. So this is not intended to be an all-weather portfolio that makes money no matter what. The goal of the 7-Eleven report is to do better than if you were in the spiders, the S&P 500 ETF. So last year we did better, but the market was a down year. So we outperformed. We lost 6% less than the S&P lost last year. So the S&P was, I don't know, what was it, 19.5%, something like that. So we are closer to 13.5%. So yes, you lost money, you just lost far less. And that is the goal. In the up moves of 2020 and 2021, we outperformed the S&P. So we made more than the market made in the up years, and we lost less than the market lost in the down years. That is as good as you can expect from somebody actively managing a portfolio that is benchmarked to a passive index. So that's what I wanted to enlighten you about to start this year, where it's early enough in the year that you can take advantage of this. We're only a couple days into the new month and the new year. So subscribing or getting your free trial now gives you access to the report that just came out on January 1st. And I really think it's something you should consider, regardless of if you're 30 years old and you're investing for the long haul. And, I tell my kids that I have kids in their 20s and one in their early 30s, that they should put money in their 401ks into kind of large cap growth. And I tell them to spread it out into, some mid cap and stuff. But also, if their plan offers a passive index fund, that they should put it in that, because over time they're going to do better than most active managers can possibly do. This is kind of taking it a step further and saying we can actually do better than the passive index over time. So that's what I want to tell you as we start the new year. Welcome back. I wish you good health, happiness, and a prosperous year. And we'll see you again next week.